Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be going over the backstories of Elodie Rakoto and the killer, the twins. I am doing it through the beta testing by Dead by Daylight. This is not on the public servers just yet. So if you do have the public servers and you guys are not seeing these characters, that is the reason why. I did this with Blight and with Felix, and everybody did like the fact that I went into the backstories of these characters, so I wanted to do it again. First, we're going to do Elodie. First of all, can we just appreciate her thumbnail? Like, look at everybody else's thumbnail, and then look at hers. She has a entire attitude, and I love it. Okay, anyways. Okay, so let's go into the backstory. Born into a lush Persian household, Elodie Rakoto grew up in a comfortable home miles away from the Verdun island of Madagascar, her parents' birthplace. Her backpack was always heavy and usually contained no schoolwork. She carried the essentials: a few history books, some printed maps, and a compact shovel. Instead of wasting away with the regurgitated facts from her classes, she explored the city to discover the stories behind each statue, neighborhood, and street sign. She collected bits and pieces of Paris, making it her own. When she was 14, her parents took her to Dyer Island for a business trip. Here we go. To her grand disappointment, the island was a private site for exclusive members of the Imperative. I guess that's how you say it. She was forced to attend prestigious and awkward social mixers daily. After a few weeks on the island, she met the peers, like-minded teenagers who had no interest in being pawns for their parents' political chessboard. On a dull, rainy night, she would convince them to sneak out and explore the island unsupervised. One foggy evening, they stumbled upon an abandoned internment camp. Felix, so she's a friend with Felix. Okay. Felix, one of the peers, didn't want to go in, but Elodie insisted. Inside, they found a strange underground laboratory in the ruins. The Puras grew excited, browsing through the strange apparatuses for trophies and mementos. But Elodie noticed something in the far left corner of the wall, an odd scratches in the shape of a circle. She ran her fingernails against the cool concrete. The marks were deep and narrow. A warm whisper suddenly sent her mind adrift. Deep, rumbling thunder, black, glistening waves, and a sanded beach. Incomplete. She was compelled to touch the ice-cold sand and draw a circle with a line in the middle. A sharp thunderclap and lightning whipped the sky. The ground shook as sleek obsidian claws tore through the concrete floor, ripping the earth open. The building began to collapse, and Elodie spotted her mother wielding a bizarre instrument while her father told her to run. Then, complete darkness. Elodie never saw her parents again. For years, this nightmare woke her in the middle of the night, cold, sweating, shaking like a leaf. As a child, she suffered from night terrors and often resisted going to bed. To soothe her mind, her grandma would light a tea candle and tell her stories until the wick extinguished in a hot pool of liquefied wax. The perfume of the warm vanilla-scented wax would lulled Elodie to sleep as she envisioned stories of legendary heroes defeating fear and foes. Elodie had forgotten the stories, but she still remembered the longing for the verdant Malagasy rainforests and colossal mountains that her grandmother described. When Elodie felt cold and numb with grief, she would light a vanilla scented candle and summon her childhood memories of this distant, idyllic place, raising spirits to rise above her crippling depression. 14 years later, Elodie still searched for the missing pieces of the puzzle. No rational explanation could explain her parents' disappearance, so she had been looking elsewhere. She researched any and all legends that mentioned a dark force that snatched people at night without a trace. From there, she translated old tales and built a tapestry of narrators from around the world that corroborated the uncanny way her parents had vanished on Dyer's Island. She also gathered artifacts made by ancient civilizations who sought to destroy or resurrect the incomprehensible and indescribable thing that took her parents. There were various names for it, differing from one language to the next: the abyss, the infinite, the whole. Her findings pushed her further into the dark field of occultism. The Paras were long gone. She'd alienated them from her theories, but she refused to give up on her parents. Elodie had set out in the cold, misty evening. She turned a corner, leaving Paris 13 arrondissement, an eccentric neighborhood with a substantial library dating from the Middle Ages. She had pressing work to do for Hazra Shah, the collector, an occult specialist who achieved rare artifacts. He recruited her after she'd salvaged a rare stolen Amori statue of spidery fangs like the claws she'd seen on Dyer's Island. For the next 5 years, Elodie had been procuring occultic. He recruited her after she'd salvaged a rare stolen Amori statue of spidery fangs that like the claws she'd seen on Dyer Island. For the next 5 years, Elodie had been procuring occult relics for the collector. In exchange, she provided large sums of money, equipment, and precise information about obscured manuscripts. Just as the collector requested, she had secured the annuals of a witch trial convincing a mother birthing conjoined twins in the 17th century. According to legend, an occult incantation was engraved on a set of skulls, all of which the collector possessed except one, the witch's skull. There was no traces of where the skull was now, but Elodie had found a newspaper article dating back to the same year, mentioning that most remains had been relocated to the catacombs to avoid a pandemic. Elodie was acting on a hunch. Breaking into the catacombs to retrieve a lost skull involved certain risks, but no more than the previous work she'd done for the collector. With a flashlight, she followed the ancient layout of the catacombs and spotted a collapsed wall. A few large stones blocked in the way. She grabbed a portable XRF analyzer and scanned the materials of the wall. Working for the collector had its perks. The brick mortar had been poorly mixed, showing high traces of sand. The whole thing was brittle and the ground was moist from the damp evening air. This was her way in. The journey beneath was long and treacherous. The air was heavy and moldy. She gasped when her keychain flash hit an endless wall of bleach white skulls. Something cracked behind her. She spun around and collided head first with a baseball bat. Pain exploded in her skull and darkness filled her view. When she came to, a man was carrying her over his shoulder, venturing deeper into the catacombs. He was wearing a dark robe, the black veil. She managed to elude them until now. Ruthless and lethal, they went by many names. She'd figured out that they ultimately all worked for the same group, a ring of occult fanatics, rumored to perform human sacrifices for what they called the Old One. She had to get out of here fast. Elodie spotted a lone skull on the wall, grabbed it and smashed it on her assaulter's head. Stunned, the man lost his balance and Elodie hit the ground running. As she turned a corner, she suddenly felt a sharp pain on her side. She looked down and saw a large blade planted there. Shocked, she removed the knife and warm blood splurted out. Her heartbeat rang in her ears as her vision blurred. She fell to her knees. Summoning all her strength, she drew a circle on the ground with a shaking, blood-red finger and traced a line in the middle. An opaque heaviness fell over her shoulders. A familiar scent of vanilla spiked fruit and lychee nuts coated the air. Thin tropical rain drizzled down leafy vines. Warmth. Madagascar. A ghostly cry erupted from the thick foliage. Elodie looked up and the vines turned into hissing snakes. The soft canopy soil suddenly turned ashen and collapsed under her feet. She sank into something dense and cold that swallowed her like thick quicksand. She screamed before being smothered by the abyss, the infinite, the whole. She found what she had been searching for. I'm telling you, they are so good at these backstories. The writer is freaking top tier. Oh my gosh, I love this story. So she came from the same group as Felix. So I wondered if she was captured at the same time. You know, at the same time as Felix went back? But maybe not, because we had Felix before we had her. But yeah, she was part of the group that the entity tried to snatch up from the beginning, and then their parents came to save them, and then somehow her and Felix would not stop thinking about it, and he actually went off and did his own thing with his architecture, which led him back to the island. Whereas with Elodie, she couldn't stop searching for what took her parents and what entity that was. So that would really led her back into the Dead by Daylight world. I'm telling you, these stories are top tier. I love it. Okay, let's go over her perks. The first perk is appraisal. Let me see. You have a careful eye that notices what many overlook. Start the trial with 3 tokens. When a chest has already been opened, consume a token to search it for an item. You unlock chests 40% faster. And I did a kill with friends when we was able to get together. And I'm telling you now, this 40% faster is a lot faster than what you guys think. Like, I was able to open that chest within seconds. Now, when you have a killer that spots you on top of the hill and they see you, that 40% is dire, because that's the difference between you getting hooked and running out of there. And this is actually good for when you get those dailies that makes you get. I have to open a number of chests, because I had that before. So with this and Plunder's Instinct, these will be the perfect combinations to help you if you like to get mostly items, and if you have those dailies where you have to open chests. The next one is deception. Unlocking, okay, your adventurous lifestyle requires movement of crafty misdirection. Interacting with a locker while sprinting will trigger a loud noise notification of your location and cause you to leave no scratch marks for 3 seconds. You no longer enter lockers while sprinting and while this perk is active. Deception can only be triggered once every 60 seconds. Okay. So when I tried to do that, it wasn't working. Now I know why. You have at least a minute cooldown. So yeah, I actually fooled my friends with this perk while I was playing her and while we was being chased. They actually checked the lockers thinking that I went in there and they could not see my scratch marks at all. The scratch marks actually goes on the locker like you just entered it if you're getting chased. So while the killer is checking out the locker, you're long gone. So this is very helpful. The next one is power struggle. You've never given up and you're not about to start. While being carried by the killer, reaching 35% wiggle progress activates power struggle. While power struggle is active, you can drop a nearby standing pallet to stun the killer. Power struggle is deactivated when it triggers successfully. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, one thing I've noticed with Elodie, cause I had to like carry her, she struggles a lot harder than the other survivors. Like I could barely move when I was carrying her to a hook, but I didn't know that if you're like by a pallet, you can actually pull it down while the killer is carrying you. Oh, I love that perk. That's also very useful, especially me. If y'all ever seen me play with my friends online, y'all know that I get downed a lot and I get carried the hooks a lot. So this is actually going to be super useful to me at least. Okay, so that is Elodie. She is an intermediate character. But yeah, I love her backstory and I love her perks and I love the way she looks. I mean, look at this outfit, look at this hair. I am so happy that we have another Meladin black girl in the game. Like, I'm sorry, Claudette. I love you and I still love you. You are always gonna be the first, but it's gonna be Elodie from now on. It is going to be Elodie from now on. So I'm going to have to be playing her. I'm going to have to be like leveling up, making sure that her other perks are teachable. So yeah, you're going to see me or watch me play her a lot on stream. Okay, so now that the survivor is over and done with, let's go to the killer section. And let's go to the twins. So as you can see, they are called the twins. I think the baby is called Victor. I don't know what his name is, but we're gonna go into the backstory. I just want you to take a look at his model in game. This looks awesome, and I didn't even know there was actually flies all around him either. But yeah, this little boy, oh, he's terrifying. He is terrifying. Look at that animation. Oh, that's creepy. Okay, let's go into his backstory and see what the hell happened. Okay, so this is the twins' backstory. A pair of conjoined twins, Charlotte and Victor. Okay, so this is actually a woman. All right, I wasn't sure. Okay, a pair of conjoined twins, Charlotte and Victor Deshays, formed an emotional bond like no other. The unlikeliness of their successful birth in the 17th century could be described as miraculous, yet it immediately brought about their life of persecution. The twins merged with Victor's lower body affixed into the chest of his sister, legs twisted around her muscles and organs. He was smaller than Charlotte, grown as if he were an appendage of her body rather than a fully formed boy. As the newborns screeched, so too did the midwife who delivered them, running from the home yelling of a demon birthed by a witch. Oh no. So began the hunting of Charlotte, Victor, and their mother, Madeline. The coming years were fleeting memories for the twins, yet they were the closest thing to a normal life they would know. The journey with their mother was what they believed all children underwent, the games of running and hiding through France's countryside being an ordinary occurrence. At the age of 5, a new challenge to the game was presented as their mother fell ill. Pale, exhausted, Madeline had no choice but to pass responsibility of collecting food onto Charlotte. The girl, burdened under extra clothing that concealed Victor's protruding body, set out from their forest tent and marched into a nearby town. Though a peculiar sight, she did what she had been trained for, waiting for an opening at the market and swiping whatever food she could. It was a victory in the game, but one short-lived. After midnight, glowing flames surrounded the family's encampment, bobbing through the darkness. A single commanding shout broke the night silence, and a mob of witch hunters streamed in. Grubby hands tore the twins from their bed, Charlotte frantically kicking all who approached. Madeline cried for her children, her voice abruptly silenced by a club to her skull. Victor shrieked, the wails of a trapped rat. The hunters coordinated quickly. A judge on hand declared Madeline guilty of witchcraft, evidenced by her demon spawn. Within minutes, they shackled her unconscious body to a tree, surrounded her feet with dry twigs and moss. As she awoke, she did not struggle, only begged for her children to turn away. They would be given no choice. The twins were forced to watch as the torch was lit, and they watched as flames leaped up their mother's skirt, charring and sizzling her flesh. They watched as fat dripped from her body and her face bubbled and twisted. They watched until the screams that tore from her vocal cords were no more, and all that was left was the crackling of embers and a nauseating stench. Whatever joy and goodness were in them died with their mother. Caged and transported to an old wooden temple, they were sold to a secretive group clad in dark cloaks. Victor reacted with the ferocity of a rabid beast at any who approached, flying and biting. The only solace that could calm him was the embrace of his sister. Charlotte, bitter and hateful to all but her brother, found purpose in being his protector. Within the temple, they were exposed to unusual experiments, some cruel, many simply baffling. One day they would be made to break the neck of a small gray bird. The next they would bleed their fingers into a vase of roses. Every seventh day they would sleep with the branch of a damp oak beneath their pillow. Then there was the chanting, a never-ending chorus from cloaked figures of scheduled intervals. In time, a final experiment was planned. 2 robed figures hurled the twins in the center of the temple, holding Charlotte upon the altar in a room lit with candelabras. The wrinkled face of a man peered from underneath his hood. Place a hand on the forehead of each twin, making careful examinations of their skulls. Memento mori, he uttered as he withdrew a shining blade. Charlotte rolled to her side, shifting her brother off the altar. With a screech, he stretched his arm as far as he could, knocking a candelabra to the ground. The flames took to the dry wood immediately. They swept over the floor, igniting the black robes that brushed against it. Screams of agony pierced the chaos, invigorating Charlotte. She dashed through the inferno, a vision concealed with nothing but black smoke and blazing flame. A painful heaviness filled her lungs. No exit could be found. Every step leading to overwhelming heat. She fell to her knees, suffocating, and then saw it. Sunlight, trees. She stumbled from the fire into dewy grass. Without looking back, she ran into the forest until she collapsed. When Charlotte opened her eyes, she reached for Victor's hand. He made no attempt to budge. His body hung helplessly from her torso. She collapsed his face, staring into his sad, still eyes. The movement she was accustomed to. His body pulled at her skin, his legs prodding at the cavity of her chest, was no more. Victor was dead. Charlotte had no choice but to continue moving as she mourned, fearing black cloaks and witch hunters were prowling. She concealed her brother's corpse under her clothing and marched for the sewers in the nearby city. There she set up camp, merging often to steal whatever food she could, resorting to raiding barns for pig slop when desperation set in. Throughout the years, Victor's corpse rotted as his limbs oozed and blackened, yet his body demonstrated resistance to complete decomposition, as if his sister's blood still coursed through him. Protecting his lifeless body became Charlotte's sole reason for being, refusing to ever be separated from the only family she had loved. Life into her teenage years was a game of survival. Her hatred for humanity grew each day under the realization they would never leave her be. No matter how many died during her botched robberies and desperate attempts to escape, there will always be more to pursue and sling words of condemnation at her. Monster, demon, witch. And it was the Black Cloaks who were the worst of them. Their hunt for her was unending, forcing her to constantly abandon their shelter and run. For years, Charlotte fled, drawing blood out of the necessity, cradling her long-dead brother in the night. During a frigid winter, her body began to break down. Food was scarce, and the refuge of rickety shacks were no use against freezing temperatures. Sickle in hand, she sheltered near a campfire in the woods, not knowing if the Black Cloaks would take her before the cold did. As frost crystallized around her nostrils and her lips took a gentle blue hue, Charlotte felt something she had never experienced: acceptance. She closed her eyes, opened herself to the serenity of death when a shrill and vicious pierced her ears. Victor spasmed and flailed from her chest, a cloud of fog encompassing him. Before she could react, he spilled from her in a bloody puddle, landing on the snow and running. Pulling herself from the edge of death, she gave chase. Calling his name, she ran through the forest until her legs could barely carry her, until finally within her view was Victor, sitting on the edge of a thick fog, his face twisted and feral, screamed as a dark hooded figure emerged from the fog, grabbed his arm and seized him. The serenity that crept into Charlotte was extinguished, replaced by the seething hatred and rage she had depended on for so long. With a tight grip on her sickle, she charged into the fall, preparing to eviscerate any who set foot near her brother. That was so heartbreaking. Oh my god, in certain parts of the story, I was on the verge of tears. At the part where their mother died and the fact that she found out that her brother died. Oh my god. This story is so heartbreaking. I feel for these twins. They wasn't given a choice on how they were born. But back then, if something wasn't normal, people was quick to say like witches and demons and all that other crap. My heart is broken. My heart is broken for this killer. Porter, you protect what little you have and are perceptive to those rummaging through your stockpiles. Receive a loud noise notification when survivors interact with a chest or when they pick up an item within 24 meters of your location. Okay, the trial begins with up to 2 additional chests in the environment. The rarity of items found in all chests is decreased. Okay, so this actually combats with Elodie's ability to open chests faster. So if the killer is closer to Elodie, when she opens that chest, the killer will know. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, and then there's 2 additional chests on the on the map as well. Okay, I like that. Oppression. Life has been difficult for you, so you'll make it difficult for others. When you damage a generator, up to 3 other random generators also begin regressing. If the affected generators are being repaired, any survivors repairing them receive the difficult skill check. Oppression has a cooldown of 120 seconds. Okay, that's a good perk for a killer. That is a good perk for a killer. Like me being a survivor, that sucks. But that is a good perk as a killer though. A coup de grace. As the end nears, you go in for the kill. Each time a generator is completed, coup de grace grows in power. Gain a token. Consume 1 token to increase the distance of your next lunge attack by 60%. So every time you complete a generator, it makes this killer become faster. Damn, they really thought about this, didn't they? Because I don't think any other killer that they've had this type of ability. So you actually have a downside when you complete a generator. So if you complete all the generators and your butt is running to that gate, to the exit, just know that killer can catch up to you quick. Like I said, this killer looks good. The animations of this killer is good. The baby, it did not say anything about the baby and what the baby does, the ability that the baby does. So I will be showing some gameplay that I did with my friends. This baby or her brother will like shoot out from her and will help you attack the survivors, and they also help you track the survivors as well. Because if you leave your brother out and the survivor is close and Victor can see them, he would notify Charlotte, which I think that's very useful as a killer. And then when Victor downs a survivor, he will stay there. You can go back to control Charlotte, and you can see exactly where the survivor is. Even if the survivor crawls away, you will still get a notification as they're moving where they are. And also, Victor does not have a killer radius. This is terrifying. I played for the first time. I look behind me. His little butt is running after me. I almost I freaked out. I freaked out. And his grunts, when you can hear his grunts, that is completely insane. Completely. Completely insane. It adds to the terror. It adds to the terror. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am going to enjoy being both the survivor and the killer. We will be streaming this on Twitch. My friends Josh, Randy, and me, we will stream it, and then we have our friends who will also play with us, so you guys can enjoy the I guess the pre-public release streams, and then the public release streams after that. We're gonna have a lot of fun, trust me. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Comment below what you think of this survivor and killer. Tell me what you guys think of the perks, and I will see you guys in the next video. You guys have a great day.